This is the ESOC Autumn 2018 Second Chance Tournament, basically a bracket, an individual tournament for the losers or the defeated players of the Autumn Championship. We're going to have a match between yoqpasa and Sweethegreat here in the round of 32, a best of 3. Both players ranked around that high captain, low major level. Should be some good games. And in the south of the map, we're going to have Sweethegreat playing as the British. And in the north of the map, we're going to have yoqpasa playing as the Japanese. I'm just trying to adjust my scores here. But yeah, as I was saying earlier, yoqpasa is the number 2 seed. He actually is a player from Spain. Again, he's a Pier 30, ranked around a major, with a 2250 max JP ELO. His main civs are China and Japan, but he's also pretty established with British, Germany, Dutch, and Russia, so he has quite a diverse civ pool. And he hasn't made it very far in any of the previous mainline tournaments, but he's always somebody who dominates his group stages. He's actually got a record of 9 match wins and only 2 losses, including the most recent Autumn Championship. He was knocked out of the Autumn Championships this year early after losing a series in the placements to Major Dark, who we also saw earlier today. However, he's back with a vengeance, again taking the number 2 seed after a really nice run on ladder, and I think he's looking for his vengeance here. On the other hand, we have Sweethegreat, as well as a contention over a 85 wood treasure. Looks like oh, just missed it. Wait, what? What is going on here?
There's the Guardian's still alive, so...
There's still a tiger there, so yeah, so neither player could pick it. But anyway, Sweethegreat, he's a player from the United Kingdom. He's ranked PR28 captain. He has a max JP ELO of 2170, so yoqpasa does have him a little bit outmatched there. He plays mostly Brits, like we're seeing here, picking it for the first match on Manchuria. But he's a tournament regular, so he's got a lot of experience. He's played in ESOC Winter 2015, Autumn 2016, as well as Spring 2017, as well as the most recent tournament. This will be his 3rd Second Chance Tournament appearance. And in the Autumn Championship 2018, he lost to Perez in the qualifiers stage, and that was actually his quick exit from the tournament. Perez, of course, winning that qualifiers group and moving on to the placement stages. But just a few days ago, he beat his round of 64 opponent, and so we're going to be playing this round of 32 match a little bit ahead of schedule. We can see if we look at the treasures. Mitoe, has there been anything interesting?
Nothing super interesting aside from Sweethegreat stealing yoqpasa's 85 wood. At the moment, it looks like not a whole lot's going on. yoqpasa's gathering treasures on both sides of the map with his explorers. It's I think a good idea to split up his monks after something big like the 85 wood is gone, because a lot of the other treasures on the map you don't really need both of your monks around to take the treasures. But yeah, other than that, it's looking fairly standard so far. Just waiting on yoqpasa's shipment. He actually has not sent it, it looks like. So he's going to be saving his shipment, maybe, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, we can actually see he didn't build a consulate, so he's aging up with 800 food being sunk into that wonder. It looks like the Toshogu Shrine, but we can't quite tell yet. It might be the Torii Gates. But yeah, considering he hasn't sent his first shipment yet, we might be seeing an aggressive build order come out here.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. And, you know, I guess this is just another one of those options. I think we've talked about this a couple times on the stream lately, but Japan has been seeing a bit of changes to their early game lately, at least in the way they're played. A lot of people have been sending cards other than the original sort of standard Heavenly Kami shipment that we used to see a lot. Cards like 300 wood, 3 boats, 2 villagers, stuff like that we've been seeing a lot more, and I guess this is just another alternative where you, instead of sending one of those sort of mediocre shipments, you just sort of hang on to the shipment until Colonial. So I'm interested to see what he chooses to go for here. An aggressive play is definitely not off the table.
very soon here we'll be able to see what wonder he actually went up with, whether that was the Toshogu Shrine or the Torii Gates. The Toshogu Shrine usually being the...
Sorry, I was going to say that is the Toshogu Shrine.
Ah.
So he is going up with the Shrine Wonder. It is going to give him population space, as you can see he's not dropping a lot of shrines. So if he does want to go for something aggressive, this is still going to help him out. Building the consulate now before he hits Age 2, and yeah, I think it's fair to say that we will probably see an aggressive play, which can definitely work against British if they don't prepare for it or don't scout it. Early in the game, Ashy do a good job of punishing sort of the one racks military production from British. Longbows kind of can't really kite Ashy, and Ashy kind of outdamage the musketeers and can also run them down as well. So we'll have to see how effective this pressure is. Sweethegreat has not scouted at all yet, although he is walking towards yoqpasa's base now. And he'll have to... I wonder if he'll be checking deck to see what kind of cards are coming through. Actually, we aren't seeing any of the standard cards being sent for yoqpasa. If you check the deck, it doesn't look like he's sending any of the original cards, or he's not sending like 4 Vil, 600 Wood, or 5 Ashy, or 5 Yumi, or anything like that. Maybe he's sending 300 Export into Daimyo, which is an interesting way to sort of keep his build hidden, I think, from... oh no, he is sending 5 Ashy. I guess it just doesn't show up on the UI when you're checking the deck. You can't see the -2 disappear. So it is going to be Ashy Rush, sorry.
Yeah, coming out with those 5 Ashis, got some Ashigarus as well in queue from his barracks. It came out a bit slow, so I wonder what this pressure is really going to accomplish. However, Sweethegreat kind of having this hunt strewn out between his TC and his outpost, leaving his villagers somewhat exposed. Of course, he does have 10 musketeers out on the field, or 9, able to defend that. But should he get caught out of position, you know, he might end up losing a few villagers. However, not the case here. He might be able to take down, boop, 1 Ashi. Nope, not quite yet. Yeah, there we go. As well, 2. Losing 2 Ashis there, not doing that much, but maybe idling a few villagers for a little bit. But I think Sweethegreat's absolutely okay with that. Only getting a 2 Ashigaru batch out from his first batch from his barracks. And yeah, gonna lose another Ashigaru, not able to pressure him much, only moving away a villager, just slightly, basically.
Yeah, definitely not what he wanted from this build. He's also yet to make anything from the Japanese consulate, so he could have actually had an extra like 3 or 4 clubs, or Shinobi would have helped a lot too. Yeah, maybe just sort of fumbling on the build a little bit, but he is still going to buy some time with these Ashy. They are going to prevent Sweethegreat from ever pushing across the map to his base. And they are really annoying to sort of try and catch, and they're going to get some idle time down, maybe kill a couple villagers.
Sweethegreat being very, very delicate on his, oh, just as I say that, he loses his first settler of the match. But, you know, considering, I think yoqpasa's probably lost around 10 musketeers, I don't think that's necessarily the worst trade for Sweethegreat at this point. However, that said, the economies are still quite the same. Sweethegreat sitting on quite a low house population, only being at 90 right now, having sent actually both 700 wood and 600 wood. So, you know, British, you know, going for such... the Japanese player, I should say, going for such a low economic build order, he's actually not that far behind.
Yeah, we can see even with the pressure going down, now that he's sent 600 wood, he is dropping shrines on the left and right sides of the map. So he's actually going to be catching up in economy a little bit here, potentially with 4 villager shipment or something like that following the 600 wood. And then once that comes in, he'll be in a pretty good spot to sort of start, I don't know, you know, doing the same things Japan normally does, like massing their units, start setting those upgrades for those units. And once those upgrades start coming in, it'll be pretty difficult for Sweethegreat to really do anything about it. I think
Yeah.
I might be having a bit of trouble hearing you. I'm not sure.
Oh, no, I think it should be all right. How about now? Can you hear me okay?
Okay, hopefully. It seems like it might be cutting out or something occasionally. Anyway, stable actually going back and down in the back for yoqpasa as well. So we're going to be seeing some Nagi mixed in, which would be pretty good against this longbow mass. Ashy Raid getting cleaned up in the back of Sweethegreat's base as well.
Yeah, so judging by the score deficit, British usually have a bit of an inflated score because their houses cost more score. You have to sink more wood and able to build them in order to build them. So while, of course, yoqpasa has maybe 9 houses or 7 houses of his own, those only cost around about 100 score, or 100 wood invested into the score, and they still give him the same 70 population, whereas these British houses, he might have, let's say, 11 out. That's going to be 15 score, whereas they still give him the same amount of population. And my whole point of saying that is that there's being the deficit in the score, it's probably a bit more to Sweethegreat's liking. Usually Japan has a bit of a higher score because they are an economic civilization similar to British. But that failed aggression from yoqpasa kind of put him behind. At this point, and even earlier in the match, yoqpasa probably would have liked to see the scores evening out. But because of his failed pressure, losing so many Ashigarus and not really trading very efficiently for that with villagers of Sweethegreat, yeah, that score difference being reflected there.
And still doing a good job with these raids. 3 Nagi going to be picking off 1 Vil, forcing the musketeers to sort of run around and chase them. And meanwhile, in the back, he has sent his 4 villager shipment. He has caught up an economic unit population, and he does have a pretty solid mass of units. Not quite equal mass to Sweethegreat yet, but he is still buying time with the 10 musketeers having to run around to the back. He might be able to take this fight if he chooses to. Going to be getting 1 longbow. Sweethegreat not wanting to fight that. And a second barracks going down for yoqpasa in the back as well.
A batch of 10 reinforcing musketeers are going to bolster that infantry mass that Sweethegreat has out towards yoqpasa's base, and I think this is a good time to just go in and engage, especially having held off that Naginata raid in the back there.
Yep, looks like it is going to be go time for him. Going to start sieging that Rax. Probably going to have to pull off once the Ashigaru respond. And I don't know if this is enough for Sweethegreat. It looks like he is going to force the Ashi to back off just a little bit, but there is going to be a reinforcing batch of units coming relatively soon, most likely. Nagi are in queue. He does have Minutemen available and Town Center Fire if he chooses to garrison any villagers. And a big batch of musketeers coming in from the side, actually going to make it very difficult to hold this pressure. Only 1 Yumi coming out of that Rax as well. Not exactly what he wanted, but 3 Nagi are coming out now. Not going to be enough against this giant massive musketeers, it looks like. And yeah, it looks like the villagers are going to be forced to garrison. Not going to be able to gather any more resources with the musketeers standing so close to the cherry orchard there. And Minutemen finally being called. A 5 Yumi shipment as well, just to try and hold the pressure. He has 6 Yumi in queue, so there's going to be Yumi popping out, along with the Yamabushi Clubmen are also in queue. But they're still a little ways away. And that's going to be the game for Sweethegreat. Just a well-timed push. And a pretty solid defense of his villagers overall, I suppose. Maybe yoqpasa sort of committed a little bit too much to some of those raids, lost a few too many units. And yeah, manages to pull out a win for Sweethegreat there.
Yeah, so that'll be Sweethegreat leading this series 1-0 with a quick victory, the British against the Japan. yoqpasa probably wanting to get that 3 safe fishing boats out on the sea, but not being able to do that. We're not electing to send
that explains it.
Yeah. Unfortunate for him, but that is going to be a loss in Game 1. We're going to move on to Game 2. The map is going to be Hudson Bay. And I think yoqpasa will be the one that gets to counterpick there. Sweethegreat's going to need to lock his civilization first. And given what I know about Sweethegreat, I would probably expect to see German here on Hudson Bay. Germans, what do you think of them on Hudson Bay?
German on Hudson Bay? It's a pretty reasonable map. I mean, like almost any civ can play on Hudson Bay, right? It's not super ideal, maybe just because you usually only have one gold mine that's kind of under your TC, and you do have a second mine that's relatively close, but after that second mine, a lot of your gold mines are pretty exposed, and it can be hard to hold a lot of pressure if you have to like move out of your base or resources in super early fortress. But again, that kind of depends on the matchup, and overall, I think it's a fine map for Germany. Looks like we're going to be seeing France instead of Germany. That's definitely a solid option on this map as well, with all the sheep and the strong treasures. Will be pretty easy for Sweethegreat to find those and contest those. And Germany coming through for yoqpasa. So this is going to be a pretty classic game of AoE3 with the German versus French matchup.
So we'll be going into Game 2 on Hudson Bay. Series between Sweethegreat and yoqpasa as part of the round of 32 of the Autumn 2018 Second Chance Tournament. Sweethegreat going to be playing as the French in the color purple on the west side of the map. yoqpasa, the German player, going to be in the east of the map in the color green. Saving EP recorded game. We can see it's actually a coin start for both players. Probably not what they would have liked. I think a lot of players like to see the 200 wood start. That gives them much more options for what they want to do. But if it were to favor either of these players here, with the coin start, I would say it probably favors the French. They like to get that market up early, get the hunting dogs upgrade, and Germany, not as much a fan of that. They just don't have the plasticity to be able to do that without sacrificing, a lot of their age up time. France, on the other hand, they can kind of get it in seamlessly, so they usually opt for it. But either way.
Yeah, another big thing about that gold crate, just because you can't drop the early trading post as easily as Germany, it means you do have to drop it in transition. And against a civ like France, who tends to be a little bit stronger in the discovery age with that native scout, they can apply a lot of pressure to your explorer in the early game if you try to take any good treasures or anything like that, and then it becomes really difficult to safely construct your trading post in transition. So you'll have to be kind of careful about where he chooses to send his explorer at the beginning of the game. But he is going to be going for a market, which on this 200 food start as well, I think it was 200 food and 100 coin, is going to be a little bit difficult to get those upgrades in safely. But safely without affecting his age up time. But even aging a little bit later isn't the end of the world for Germany most of the time. So it should be all right here.
Yeah, both.
Meanwhile,
players...
we're also seeing both players pick up a couple of treasures. yoqpasa getting away with 150 coin, while Sweethegreat only ended up with his consolation 90 coin treasure. So pretty good trade for yoqpasa overall. And he's done a bit of an interesting scouting pattern too. So he walked to the middle of the map, got the 150 coin, and then went straight to the treasure at the top side of Sweethegreat space. Again, maybe because he knows that France is going to be scouting the middle part of that map and going to want to be fighting over these treasures, and he doesn't really feel comfortable taking any treasures with the native scout and explorer potentially breathing down his neck the entire time. So he's just going to sneak up to the top where it's likely that Sweethegreat has not yet scouted, grab himself a treasure, and then probably sneak his way back to his side of the map and drop that trading post.
Very well said. Picking up the 80 food, that's going to help expedite his age up to colonial. As well, that's going to make it easier when he does transition his villagers over to wood to get that trade post. Going to sneak back, as you said, probably pick that up in the transition to colonial. On the other hand, we have Sweethegreat taking down a 3 wolf treasure, going to net himself 60 wood. Likewise, it'll probably streamline his ability to get that trade post up early.
All right, pretty standard shipments coming through for both players. Looks like we're going to be seeing them click up pretty soon. Looks like yoqpasa isn't going to actually be too affected in his age up time from that early market start, so that's definitely good for him. Just gets away with the market and the market upgrade for free. Now walking down to the south side of the map to drop that trading post. Villagers are on wood, and it doesn't look like Sweethegreat's going to be looking to sort of contest any trading post from yoqpasa's native scout. Where is this native scout? It's hard to see purple on this map with all the hunts.
Yep, that's going to be scouting up to the north. That region
Gotcha.
having not been scouted by him before, but it's going to establish his view of that upper coin mine as well as the hunt.
Mm-hmm. And the important thing here is that the native scout is not sitting on either of the trading posts Germany might like to go for. As we know, the explorer is reasonably low HP. There's no reason that Sweethegreat would know that, but not going to be looking to deny that TP or anything like that. Just going to be content to take his own trading post on the other side of the map. And we'll have to see what Sweethegreat chooses to go for here. I think traditionally this matchup has been considered German favored by a lot of people, but on the ESOC patch with the nerfs to Uhlans, it might be a little bit easier for them to contest the cavalry mass in Age 2 and potentially get away with some an earlier sort of fortress age time without getting overwhelmed and stuff like that. No, does not miss a mine. Doesn't look like we're going to be seeing a forward base or anything like that. Probably just a standard sort of stable start for both players. And this is, yeah, like I said before, this typically favors Germany. But it's definitely not that bad for France either.
Yeah, like you said, both players going for the early stable, not making really any aggressive moves, both building them in their base. So I would be a bit surprised to see a lot of colonial age play from these two players. You know, like you said, with the Yulin nerf, that did come along with a Doppelsodner buff. While the Yulins lost 10 hit points to their stats, the Doppelsodners actually gained 10, and so, you know, there's been a lot of experimentation with DOP-oriented build orders in Age 2, and they're actually quite effective. However, given the defensive playstyle, or not defensive necessarily, but I would say safe playstyle from both players here, I doubt we would see that, and I think we'll see probably 5 cav come out from each player, or maybe 10, and then a quick age up to the fortress.
Yeah, for sure. Only 4 Uhlans coming out in the first batch for yoqpasa, but not going to be the end of the world. We'll have to see if he gets... Yes, he does get 5 Hussars, and both players also just shipping villager shipments right now. That will mean that yoqpasa's second batch of cavalry will be even smaller than this 4 Uhlans, as he only has access to 50 population, and the 700 wood is likely not going to come in time for that second batch. So depending on whether or not Sweethegreat chooses to go for a second batch of Hussars, which actually it looks like he isn't. He just sent 700 coins, so he's going to be looking to just get up to Fortress right away and sort of distract yoqpasa with these raids from the Hussars on both sides, and then look to age and get out some Dragoons probably or something like that.
Initially splitting up his cavalry groups, trying to get a raid on both sides, but seeing that Yulin mass from yoqpasa, trying to ward them off from killing his explorer, he did regroup them. And, you know, looking at this exposed hunt, he might be able to pick up a villager or two, but he has to be careful not to get cornered by yoqpasa's Yulin mass, which he knows the location of. However, that said, yoqpasa...
Yeah, just going to get a couple vills and deny a lot of gatherings. That's pretty good for him. And, you know, looks like yoqpasa is not going to be going back to sort of catch those Ulans. He's going to be going straight into Sweethegreat space. There's a couple of exposed CDB on the side, so he'll be picking up some return kills for his troubles.
Indeed, taking down 2 Coureurs is better than 2 villagers, because Coureurs gather at 1.25x the gather rate of a normal villager. But in his base, we actually saw yoqpasa call Minutemen to try to ward off those 5 Huss, but those 5 Huss didn't stay for long, and these Minutemen, it's basically 300 resources for not much in return.
Yeah, definitely going to be feeling good about that. And Sweethegreat, he hasn't clicked up to Fortress just yet, despite having sent that early 700 coin, that idle time denying just enough gather time on that gold mine that he's not quite able to click up. Actually, back in yoqpasa's base as well, we can see he actually sent Minutemen. He was so fearful of that raid, and the state of his hunts were so poor that he didn't feel like it was safe for him to gather there, especially while he was going for a raid himself. So even though he got a couple CDB on the side, it's not like Sweethegreat didn't do any damage with the Hussar raid. And the downside to this age up, I guess, is that he's not going to be able to defend this trading post, as he does not have enough military units. So that's also going to be a pretty good pickup for yoqpasa. But 700 coin has just arrived. He's going to be clicking up pretty soon. And there might be just a very small timing for Sweethegreat to do damage in early Fortress if he decides to. He does have Dragoons in queue. He may have 5 Dragoon shipment on the way, maybe. And with those 10 Dragoons, he could potentially push in and do a bit of damage before Germany gets any shipments out. And we'll have to see if he chooses to go for that. Hussar are moving out across the map. Not sure if they're really intending to do any damage or if they're just looking to sort of scout and sort of figure out what yoqpasa is up to. We will have to wait and see, I suppose. Yeah, so it is going to be the 10 Dragoon timing. So he's going to be pushing into the base now. Maybe looking to sort of draw those Ulans out of the base into range of those Dragoons as they come across the map. And Germany is about to hit up, but again, he will still have about a 40-second window. And actually, look at these hunts and gold mines up here. Not going to be easy to defend at all with the Dragoons coming in. There is a lot of Ulans here, but they're not at all effective against these Dragoons that can kite them all day. And going to be forcing a lot of idle time here. Looks like he is going to get 1 settler wagon as well, so that's a very nice pickup for Sweethegreat.
Yeah, indeed. Coming in at the right time, they're going to deny a lot of gathering time, kill a villager, or a settler wagon rather, so basically 2 villagers, as well as picking off 2 Yulins there. That was a nice little engagement for Sweethegreat. And also, he has the knowledge that yoqpasa is on the back foot, so basically that establishes a lot of control or momentum in Sweethegreat's favor. Actually sending 1,000 wood as his follow-up shipment to the 5 Dragoons in the Fortress Age. With that, probably going to bank it on a town center somewhere, or maybe just 2 barracks, a trade post, you know, to replace the one he lost. That said, actually, getting caught by these Yulins, now veteran status, losing 3 of them, but also picking off a few Yulins of his own. But the skirmisher's getting some nice shots on the Dragoons as well. You see 4 damaged Dragoons. Basically almost dead, but still alive, and if they are able to live any longer, you know, they're still going to be able to get in some nice DPS.
And 1,000 wood now coming in for Sweethegreat, just because he did not manage to send 700 wood on Age 2, and he was so committed to that early Fortress pressure that he needs to get those Raxes and houses down as quickly as possible. So he does have a Rax up now. The downside to this build is, of course, he did not have the racks up when he hit early Fortress, so Germany will have the skirmisher advantage for the time being. But I don't think France will be too unhappy about that. Yeah, he'll be behind in the skirm count for a while, but France does have access to that 2 Falconet shipment later in the Fortress Age here, and he will be using that to mitigate the skirmisher disadvantage at some point, I imagine. So, yeah, really all this pressure has done for him is buy him a lot of time to really make sure that he can get that mass out to defend those 2 Falconets. And 3 Cuirassiers coming out, actually, instead of Falconets, maybe looking to send Falconets later. But I wonder if he has Cures in Q. He does have Cures in Q, so he's going to be going for sort of a Dragoon Cure little timing. And he does know sort of what yoqpasa's been building. He did see a lot of Ulans and Skirmishers. He didn't see any War Wagons, so this could actually be pretty effective. Moving across the map now, those Cures might get spotted out by the Skirmishers here, and looks like they do. So this is going to be a tricky position for yoqpasa to navigate. I don't know if Sweethegreat noticed just how many units were there. Yes, looks like he does. And this is going to be a tricky one to micro. There's not a lot of Ulans to take down those Cuirassiers, especially with the Dragoons in the back going to be melting through them. They are getting on top of the Skirmishers. And another reinforcing batch of units coming out from behind for Germany. But he is going to be losing a lot of Ulans here to defend this.
That said, while the Cuirassiers were kind of trying to get a position on the Skirmishers, they left all the Uhlans alive. The Uhlans picking away at all of the Cuirassiers. Even still, though, it looks like in terms of cavalry, they're about even. There's still 2 Cuirassiers alive, but 1 almost dead. There's still 1 full HP one. That's going to need to soak a lot of damage, but yoqpasa doing very well to continue to batter Sweethegreat's units away, and he's actually going to come away from that engagement a little bit behind, but still alive, you know, with his superior skirmisher mass. His next shipment, actually it wasn't a shipment, it's going to be the 4 war wagons trained from his stable. That's going to help better balance his composition, so should Sweethegreat try to reinforce the rest of his units with another Cuirassier batch, he's better prepared for it.
Yeah, but overall that was a pretty good trade for Sweethegreat, I would say. Now that he's now that the Uhlans have all been cleaned up, the 2 Falconet shipment is coming in. There's not going to be a whole lot of pressure onto those with the Uhlans dead, and going to be using those to mitigate that skirmisher advantage like we were talking about earlier. And looks like he's not even looking to train a lot of skirmishers, just continuing to train Dragoons and Cures. And this is going to be challenging to hold once again. With the skirmishers not really going to be able to walk up to contest any Dragoons super easily because of these Falconets. And a really good position to put those Falcons into right behind the trees. Going to make it a little bit harder to get on top of those if yoqpasa wants to sort of take those out. So going to be forced to back off a little bit here. And yeah, even though Sweethegreat, he's been behind in military population the entire time, he's just always had the counter composition, and it's working out really well for him. Going to be denying this hunt. Looks like these villagers are going to be forced to move if they don't want to die to the Cures pretty soon. And this has just been the name of the game for Sweethegreat all game long. Just been pushing those resources whenever yoqpasa's like just a little bit outside of his base, like early on in the game. Both of his Huns were just a little bit further away from his TC than maybe they should have been. Pushed those, and now pushing yoqpasa off of this forward hunt as well. Definitely going to be hurting him a little bit.
That said, he can kind of see that Sweethegreat's control of his cavalry, and as well as cavalry mass, isn't too big. Considering yoqpasa has 8 Uhlans now, as well as around 11 or 12 war wagons. I think he's just waiting for that last shipment to come in before he fully chooses to push out and engage and try to get a routing win against Sweethegreat. But yeah,
there is another batch of Cuirassiers coming in. They're not quite here. They will be here in time for the fight, but the skirmisher shipment in the back is not going to be here in time. And all of the units, they're in the base fighting the villagers, not going to be there to defend the Falconets. The Falconets are going to go down, and Cuirassier is getting picked off as well, running through the army. And it looks like Sweethegreat is just going to get out of there with his remaining cavalry. Maybe look to do a raid before he leaves. But that's definitely not what he wanted. Split up his army a little bit too much there. And that's got to hurt for sure.
Yeah, getting real caught out there. All of his units separated, basically able to clean those 2 falconets out. He did lose a barracks, but that was basically it. Those 2 falconets didn't accomplish much after the Uhlans got a surround on them as well, picking off the remaining batch of, or the remaining mass of Sweethegreat's dragoons and his skirmishers. Basically, Sweethegreat's only units left, and now they're getting picked off. The 5 cuirassiers, now a 0 cuirassier.
Yeah, and with this big Ulan shipment reinforcing the army, there's a lot of Ulans here and not a lot of anti-cav, by which I mean there's no anti-cav. And these skirmishers are going to get cleaned up pretty quickly. There's Minutemen coming from the 2nd TC that are going to be helping to defend this, but unfortunately I don't think there's going to be enough units to hold this. Ulans are getting on top of the skirmishers. There could be a shipment coming, but there's nothing really for him to send except maybe 7 skirms, which are not going to be very effective against this, and Sweethegreat's going to call it after that engagement. Unfortunately, I guess he just got a little bit too eager with those falconets, and then splitting up his army on top of that, and just took a trade that he really could not afford to take, and as a result, loses the military advantage, and gives the win to yoqpasa.
Yep, so that'll be game 2, a victory for yoqpasa on Hudson Bay. The last map of the series is going to be High Plains going into game 3. Yeah, just as you said, you know, getting cleaned up in that one engagement. He was about even in terms of, even a little bit ahead in terms of economy, and in regards to military, he was still doing okay. You know, they were about even. Yoqpasa basically banking on that last shipment, but before that, he was able to get Sweethegreat out of position, clean up his forces, and push a victory from that point.
All right, so jumping into game 3. Is this a best of 5 or a best of 3? Sorry, this is a round of 32, right?
Yes, it'll be a best of 3, and this will be the last map.
Okay.
Game deciding one. yoqpasa will actually be the one to lock his civilization first here.
Yeah, and all civilizations are available to both players after that previous game. I don't think he'll return to Japan, but he may choose to stick with Germany for this game. We'll have to wait and see. Sweethegreat also has the option to either replay the British or the French if he so chooses. And we'll have to see if we get a repeat of either of these matchups. And no, we're going to be having the Ottomans locked in for yoqpasa, actually.
Yep, another solid pick, especially considering Sweethegreat's map pool. You know, Sweethegreat being one that would much prefer to play British on this map. Ottoman being able to lock down the early game very well with ATP and aggressive Emissaries and Obus guns. They do very well against the British military mass.
Yeah, definitely not a civ you can contend with easily in the early game, for sure. So we'll have to see what Sweethegreat chooses to go for here. It is going to be tricky.
So it seems like Sui might be defying our expectations and picking something, maybe making a fresh civilization and a whole new deck for it.
Hmm. Well, it looks like he has plenty of home cities available if you look at his list of home cities. I wonder what he could be making a deck for. He could be including a card like ATP maybe if he's looking to play Portuguese or Spain or something like that. Um, hmm. Interesting. He's mentioning the first game. I wonder if he's going to return to Japan actually. Oh no, sorry. This is yoqpasa saying that. Never mind. All right, looks like we are going to be seeing Portuguese for Sweethegreat. So he is going to have access to ATP. I wonder if ATP is going to be really effective against a civ like Ottoman, though, who age very early and have, they'll have a trading post very early in the game and will drop maybe a second or even a third trading post before Port can even think about dropping TPs. So if he goes for ATP, it's definitely going to be very challenging to hold that, but it will buy him a lot of time, and it will prevent the Ottoman player from getting Stagecoach uncontested.
Absolutely, and I think that makes Portuguese actually a pretty reasonable option on this map. I don't expect the Portuguese player, Sweethegreat, to try to stay in Colonial too long. I don't think their units can quite match up to the Ottoman composition very well. But, he could use that ATP to maybe land him 2 or 3 trade posts and try to delay yoqpasa's advance on his TC, or his base, rather. So I think it is a good pick here.
Yeah, definitely. And with the additional town centers and stuff like that, defending against any early pressure is not going to be as difficult as it might be with another civ as well, especially if he chooses to opt for colonial militia or something like that to enhance the power of those TCs. So that is definitely an option available to him. Looks like both players are going to be moving to the top side of the map here. Ottoman probably just going to be dropping down a trading post on that top left socket. Meanwhile, Sweethegreat going to be walking into this 95 wood. I wonder if he got vision of the Ottoman explorer there. Ooh, this is not going to be a great situation for yoqpasa. Sniping the Guardian. Looks like Sweethegreat didn't notice, but he will be going back to get up now. And that is something you tend to do a lot when you play a civ like Ottoman that starts with trading posts a lot, is, it takes like 30 seconds or so to construct that trading post. So if you snipe a Guardian before, oh, unfortunate. If you snipe a Guardian before you go to construct that trading post, after that trading post has been constructed, your crack shot will be almost off of cooldown, and you will be almost ready to take that treasure once again. But unfortunately for him, Sweethegreat was there and does manage to pick up the 95 wood with the help of yoqpasa. So unfortunate for him, but a very nice pickup for Sweethegreat.
Yeah, and that additional wood that he got from the treasure there is actually going to help him to get an early hunting dogs from the market.
And that's an interesting decision, I think, if he's planning to go for an advanced trading post. So maybe we won't be seeing advanced trading post this game, just because I think if he wanted to go for that, he might prefer to save that wood until that shipment comes in and then dump that into trading posts. But no, opting for the market. And this may indicate that he does not intend to go for that. And he has not selected a deck yet, does not have a shipment on the way, so he may be just choosing to instead... No, he has actually sent a shipment now. Alright, so it looks like it will be ATP most likely. He does have ATP in the deck. He also has a Colonial Militia and Economic Theory available to him if he chooses to send one of those. But one is definitely on the way. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Ottomans have finally clicked up to the colonial age, and by finally, I mean they've clicked up super early because Ottomans are fair and balanced and easy. Haha. No, just kidding. But that's going to be good for him. Dropping all those villagers onto wood, so he'll be looking to drop a second trading post here. Sweethegreat is nearby and has sent ATP, maybe going to look to try to steal the trading post away from this explorer just to deny him maybe one passive XP or something like that. Villagers not yet on wood, but will be soon, so you'll have the wood for that trading post relatively quickly.
Yeah, Sweethegreat foregoing a lot of his early scouting just to be able to harass and keep this explorer from the Ottoman player in check. Basically knowing where it is at all time. It did escape him right now, but he can kind of assume where it was. He did last see it around the south part of the map, so he kind of does know in effect where it is. I'm going to choose to creep this 50 wood treasure. Nice little pickup. Also probably going to elect to take that stagecoach very soon.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to be picking up this 50 wood first. That is going to make it a little bit easier to drop trading posts. Forward villager coming out now. Maybe going to do some herding before dropping another trading post of her own.
Oh, precisely as you said.
And looks like he's going to get 2 trading posts for sure. yoqpasa on his way to that third TP up here. So it's going to be difficult for Sweethegreat to deny that with his villager and explorer so far away. And likely only going to pick up these 2 trading posts here. But irregardless, he does deny almost half the trading post line. And ATP is not something you can easily siege. Those trading posts do have almost 4,000 HP with a ranged attack of 25. So regardless of the fact that he didn't get all the trading posts, it will be denying a lot of resources to yoqpasa in the early game. So that's definitely nice for him. Also, interestingly, we are not seeing a forward base or anything like that. We are actually seeing a stable come out for yoqpasa. So I guess he's not super keen on pounding Janissaries and Abus guns into the 2 town centers, potentially with colonial militia and stuff like that, and just going to opt to apply some early raiding pressure instead. And that's basically going to forego these trading posts. Go on.
Very awkwardly missing that first pass from the Travois man for Sweethegreat. And yeah, the first shipment from yoqpasa going to be the 700 wood. I'm interested to know what he's going to reinvest that into, because he's already got, the trade line is already maxed out. I would be surprised if he chose to go for stagecoach, because he does know that Sweet also has 2 trade posts. I don't know if he's necessarily aware that there's also ATP on that, but I would expect, yeah, the barracks coming here, and I think he's going to go for a 2-unit composition in Colonial Age here. 4 hussars coming out.
Yeah, and crossbows coming out from Sweethegreat, actually.
Yeah, that's going to be
So he was not expecting a cavalry start at all. And that's going to be a nice pickup for yoqpasa here once he sees those crossbows. Is going to get onto those and trade maybe 1 hussar off for those. And along with denying a lot of idle time, or a lot of gather time here. So that's definitely a very nice pickup for him. And meanwhile, Sweethegreat also, while committing to those crossbows, he also committed to colonial militia, you know, sort of preemptively anticipating early pressure and not quite receiving the early pressure he was expecting. And this colonial militia is going to slow down any build order he might have in mind. Not going to be getting up to the fortress super early. That 1 villager is going to get back to safety, looks like. But yeah, 700 coin coming in now. And I think he would like to be aging with that, but unfortunately he doesn't have any food. He's got less than 100 food in the bank, so not going to be aging up anytime soon. And yeah, just, you know, if he hadn't sent that colonial militia, he could have had maybe like 700 food in right now, would only be a few hundred resources away from aging. And yeah, just a little bit of a sort of preemptive shipment. Sorry, what's the word? Premature shipment from Sweethegreat, so just sort of anticipating the normal style of Ottomans with a very aggressive play, and you know, not getting the best result as a mistake, or as a result. Sorry.
Yeah, basically not doing enough legwork to get the scouting in. In fact, his explorer is dead now, dead to 2 Hussars from yoqpasa. It seems like yoqpasa is going to commit to the Age 2 game plan, but he's actually housed. Even still, you know, just with these 4 Hussars, he's gotten in so much damage. Let me look at the units lost. I believe he has killed at least 1 villager. No, he hasn't killed a villager, so Sweethegreat has been pretty good on that, but he's actually lost so much gather time that it's basically like losing a villager. In addition, losing those early 4 crossbows, which was 300 resources. yoqpasa now skirting around the TC with some Janissaries, continuing to keep those vills penned up in the town center. Yeah, Sweet just sitting very awkwardly, doesn't have enough resources to...
Yeah, I'm not too sure about this this decision to stay in Colonial for yoqpasa. He doesn't have a forward base or anything like that, so his units will be walking all the way from home if they want to get to those town centers, just to walk into the Colonial Militia. I don't know if he was paying attention when he was raiding the first time, but he should know that Colonial Militia is up and hitting away at him. But no, choosing to stay Age 2 for a little while longer at least. And Sweethegreat now finally clicking up to Fortress, dropping a stable, is going to lose that advanced trading post in the middle. But this is such a good thing about advanced trading post is it makes your TPs a little bit cheaper, makes them a lot stronger. But even if you don't get a lot of resources out of that trading post, sieging it down is going to cost your opponent a lot of resources anyway. I believe he already killed 1 Janissary with that trading post. It takes half the HP off of one of those Hussars, so that's already more than 100 resources that he gets just out of having that trading post get sieged, which is pretty much equivalent to the number of resources he spent on it. So ATP, obviously very good card just because you can drop those TPs and sort of break even instantly with them. But unfortunately, not placing this town center wagon, gonna get spotted by the Hussars, and it looks like the Janissaries are gonna walk straight back to the town center and try to get some damage onto it, bring it down before it can really go up. And there's not a lot Sweethegreat can do about this. Unfortunately, he was just a little bit distracted trying to garrison his villagers early on and did not place that town center as early as he would have liked to. So that will be going down, and that's a great pickup for yoqpasa.
The Minutemen call all that he could afford. He couldn't afford the big batch there, but still able to pick off, get some nice shots on these Janissaries and maybe pick off. I believe he's already done in 2, but maybe he'll get a 3rd. Definitely putting in a lot of damage regardless, even if he's not able to kill them off. And these 5 Dragoons going to come in with their massive speed and be able to finish off this little batch.
Yeah, going to be cleaning up those Janissaries. Stagecoach is now in, does have 4 trading posts up, but Ottomans are nowhere near aging. It doesn't look like they have any intention of aging anytime soon. 600 food did just come in. Or sorry, he looks like he does have intentions of aging, but it's not going to be up anytime soon. 600 food does come in to maybe expedite that a little bit. But Sweethegreat does have a lot of time to continue training villagers, continue massing skirms and castors. And even though he is down that 1 town center, it's not the end of the world against Ottomans. It's pretty difficult to get out-boomed by Otto, especially if he manages to clean up this trading post. And I don't know if he has enough anti-cav here to actually defend against this adequately, but looks like yoqpasa is not going to be committing to that too hard. Just trying to buy some time on that TP and maybe get an extra pass out of it.
Yeah, but basically because of how much pressure yoqpasa was able to put on Sweethegreat in Colonial, if you take a look at the recalculated economic unit population, they're actually both on the same number of villagers, as well as yoqpasa having the more trade posts on the line. He basically has a better economy.
Yeah, he definitely does for the moment, but there's still that tech advantage. Looks like he has chosen to forego aging and will be sticking with the Jan Hussar composition. And some Dragoons getting caught here in the middle. 1 is not going to go down. Okay, so that's good for him. And the challenging thing about going Jan Hus into these fortress compositions, but that being said, actually, he doesn't have a lot of units here. There is still Minutemen available from this TC, so he will likely be all right. But it's going to be losing a couple of Dragoons, is going to be forced to idle some villagers. organ guns coming out now, actually. Going to be forcing the units away. But as I was going to say before, the challenge with sticking with this sort of Musk-Huss style composition in Age 2 against Fortress Age composition is, especially against Portuguese, because Castadors have 4.5 speed, although that is being mitigated by the Minutemen being a group of the Castadors for the moment. It is very difficult to get onto those units without losing a whole bunch of units, without losing a whole bunch of units yourself. Wow, that was a mouthful. But he is dropping down an artillery foundry now to train some Abyss guns, maybe sort of mitigate that disadvantage a little bit, which will be especially good against Castors, as Castors have low HP and high range resistance, and Abyss guns ignore range resistance. So that's going to be good for him. And this is a big mass of Hussars. There's only 5 Dragoons here. Those organ guns are not going to be effective here at all.
Basically getting caught here with not enough units to defend it, and I think these Hussars are just going to do so well to clean up this mass from Sweethegreat. And look, even the Dragoons not going back. I just don't feel as though Sweethegreat feels he can stall anymore, and, you know.
Yeah, big batch of Minutemen coming out, though. Will be doing damage to these units. Unfortunately, there is still a lot more units than there are Minutemen, so yoqpasa will not be wanting to back away from Sweethegreat's base, and Sweethegreat calls it, and that will be yoqpasa's series going to him 2-1.
Yeah, so yoqpasa will be taking up the win here, moving on from the round of 32 to the round of 16. Actually don't know who he will be facing. It seems yoqpasa as well as Sri maybe a little bit dissatisfied with their performance there. Even still, I think that was quite well played from yoqpasa. I feel as though Sweet could have done a little bit better, but, you know, still it was difficult with how much pressure yoqpasa was putting on in the early game.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, like, if Sweethegreat had just waited a little bit longer before he committed to that colonial militia shipment, like, we got to remember the Portuguese explorer does have the spyglass